Coach, Western Michigan coming off a bye week, a good time to get some of those banged up players rested, and a really good matchup this week on the road at Marshall.
Our guys showed up in the building this week excited, ready to prepare, ready to get back to game week. I thought the bye week came at an excellent time for us. It gave us time to really assess who we were after 3 games, our strengths and our weaknesses. One of the things I challenged our staff and players with was look at the things that we've done well, but also the things that we need to do better and really attack those things during the bye week. I think a lot of times players and coaches just try to get through the bye week. I felt like our players and our team really showed up to get better through the bye, which was really exciting. They attacked the practices that we had. We really took a look at what we did well and some of the things that we needed to improve through the first 3 games. I think we've got a really good assessment of who our team is through three games, who our players are, what they can do well, putting them in positions to succeed, which I'm excited about, and I think our staff did a really nice job of that in the Bethune game. I need to continue to do that moving forward, and so I think those things will help us be more prepared as we head down the stretch in the second half of the season. We play a great opponent this week in Marshall, a really good opponent, really tough opponent. Coach Huff has done an excellent job there. He's in his 4th season, has gone to a bowl game in each of the first 3 seasons. They've got playmakers on both sides of the football. They are very disciplined. When you look at how they've played, I think that they've gotten better each and every single week, which is what you see in really good football teams and well-coached football teams. They are disciplined. They just came off a game, with a common opponent of Ohio State. I thought that they played really well. They opened up the game with a 13-play drive, went down and scored on Ohio State's defense. Really the first touchdown that Ohio State's defense has given up, and I thought that drive was really impressive. I thought the way that they played throughout the game was together, tough, disciplined. They go in, they score right before half to make it 28-14, so a 2-score game. So they played those guys really tough. So we've got our work cut out for us this week. Our guys showed up with the right intensity, right intentionality, and the things that we really assessed over the bye week that we really wanted to carry over into game week was, the consistency in our performance has to show up in the consistency of our preparation. And I've talked about that a bunch. Really, the preparation equals the confidence that we will play with to execute at a high level, to do our jobs at a high level. And I thought today's practice was excellent, and they really showed up to work and really excited for this week.
Questions?
You guys have been one of the least penalized teams in the country so far, just looking at the statistics. Was that a point of emphasis, coming off of last year, and just how do you think you guys have been so far this season in that department?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Really, that was one of the things since I've taken the job that we really wanted to improve was our discipline, eliminating the penalties, especially the self-inflicted penalties, the pre-snap, the post-snap. If you have an aggressive penalty during the play, those are some things that you're going to have to live with when you tell your team to play aggressively and to attack for 60 minutes and really win their one-on-one battles. You're going to have some holding calls. You're going to have some DPIs, but really eliminating a lot of those self-inflicted penalties, the pre-snap and post-snap. I think our coaches have done an excellent job really emphasizing those things, and they've shown up, which is encouraging. That's really what you want to see. It was things that we preached all last year, but really we're seeing some of the fruits of the labor of those things last year. But Marshall is one of the least penalized teams this week as well, and so I think it's, they're a very disciplined football team. We've shown that we at times can be a disciplined football team. We have to be more consistent in our discipline and really consistent in our performance. And really it's going to come down, this game versus Marshall is really going to come down to the execution. Who can do their jobs at a high level and really don't beat themselves. The team that doesn't beat themselves will be the team that's standing at the end.
You talk about using a bye week to try and get better. Some of your guys just looking to try and get better. I know a couple guys banged up. Gideon, Buckley, Domschke, Womack. Those are some key contributors for this team. Just talk to me about guys just having a week to try and rest up after a very tough start and hopefully find themselves working their ways back onto the field sometime soon for you guys.
Yeah, like we talked about, the bye week really came at a really good time for us. We had some early injuries to some key players on both sides of the football. and that allowed some of those guys to get some rest and recovery. That will allow us a chance to get some of them back. Each one of those guys is really still day-to-day. None of them have been cleared to play yet, but really that extra week has given them the extra time to prepare. We hope that we're going to get 3 or 4, if not all of those guys back. I don't know that we'll get every single one of them back, but I know that, Kyle and our training staff, Kyle Schiller, our training staff, has done an excellent job really working around the clock even during the bye week. I appreciate the hours and the attention to detail that our training staff has put in to it. They know how critical every single second is, and how critical every single player is to the success of this team, and giving us the best opportunity and chance to win by having our best players available on game day. And so, I'm excited. Most of those guys practiced today in a limited capacity, and so it'll be day to day as we go forward. But I'm excited to get some of those guys back. I know they're really excited to play. They're really excited and chomping at the bit to get back into game action, and really appreciate what our doctors and training staff have done to help those guys.
You also mentioned that you guys using the bye week to try and assess from that first quarter of the season what you saw, what this team is doing well, areas you would like to improve. What are a couple of those areas where you guys have been impressed by the play, and then a couple areas where you guys are maybe looking to say, okay, let's really work on this. Let's get this ready for Marshall.
Yeah, the biggest area for me, just as a football team, is consistency. When we have done things well, whether it's offense, whether it's defense, or special teams, I think we've shown that we can be a really good football team and we can play with anybody on our schedule. I think that we've shown that when we don't play consistently well and with the habits and traits that we talk about, and not consistent in our performance or the execution of our job details, what you see is we can get beat by anybody left on our schedule. And so really just making sure that we lock in, that we have that one snap focus, one play focus, and once that play is done, to reset and refocus on the next play. And to give our all. Offensively, a couple of things that we've got to do better. We got to continue. I thought in the last game we ran the ball really well. We were very balanced. We had 677 yards of total offense, 300 plus, rushing the football, 300 plus, passing the football. We were really good in the red zone. So we got to continue to create those explosive plays, which creates points. So just really continuing to create those explosive plays, getting better at getting our best playmakers the football, which I thought Coach Bell and our offensive staff did a great job of in the previous game, to get a rhythm and some continuity. I think on the defensive side of the football, the consistency has to show up in how we tackle, limiting explosive plays, and then getting off the field on third down and in the red zone. We did that well in the first game against Wisconsin. We haven't done that consistently or well enough since. And then, when it comes to special teams, we got to score points when we have opportunities to make kicks and score points. Points are too critical and help you win football games. And then our coverage units have been up and down. Some weeks they've been, a highlight, and some weeks they've been a low light. And really just the consistency to run and cover, and making sure that all 11 are on the same page. Our kickers, it's just like any other play in football. It takes all 11 to have a great play. It's the same thing in the coverage unit. I mean, I know everybody wants to talk about the 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, and, nobody's, pleased with those plays, and we made sure that we got those things corrected and talked about, and feel really good about where we are from our coverage units. But it also, the kicks matter. I mean, we can't kick the ball with a low trajectory and hang time in the middle of the field. It hurts your coverage unit. But my challenge to our coverage unit was, no matter where the ball is kicked, we got to go cover it and we got to go get it down. But it does take all 11, and the kick does matter, and putting it in the place where, we've designed that coverage unit to go helps in all those. And so really just, again, the theme for the team is just the consistency, but, just in a couple of areas on each side of the football, those were the things that we assessed that we've got to be better in.
Coach, in that home opening win a couple of weeks ago, you got to play a lot of players. Was there somebody that came in that you thought, wow, we got to find some more playing time, some more snaps for this guy?
We did. We were able to play a bunch of guys in that game. Really through the first 3 games, we've played a bunch of players. That was partly by design. We wanted to help build depth and help, build some experience with some guys that to see what they can give us, but also product of some injuries that we had. I think up front, several guys came in and played really well. I think Chad Schuster has played really well. I think, Hofer and Murph, when they've gotten their opportunities to play, they've played at a really high level up front. You've seen a bunch of running backs come in and play at a high level. I was really excited with how our running backs ran the football in this game. It wasn't just Jaden Nixon and Oldie. It was Jamal Haley. It was every single person that came in. They took their time. They took their carries and created yards after contact. They were running hard with a chip on their shoulder, really creating those extra yards, those we call them bully yards, and really running with a purpose. And so, I thought you saw a bunch of running backs that can come in and play. Wide out, we're still developing that depth. You're seeing different guys. Bugs catches a screen and takes it to the house. It was exciting, to see him, Bugs Mortimer, get started there. On the defensive side of the ball, we played probably more guys than we played on the offensive side of the ball. There's a bunch of guys up front who are starting to step up. Popeye Williams, got to continue to see Rodney McGraw take the next step and be a really good player for us. But those guys have really stepped up at each level, and proud of the way that they played.
Punter was kind of a question mark going into this season, Coach, but you got one of the most consistent punters out there in Ryan Milmore. This guy's been money, averaging 42 yards a punt. I don't think you could ask for much more out of them.
Ryan Milmore has been a weapon for us. He has absolutely been a bright spot, and one of the things that has allowed us with our punt team, the operation time, has been great between, snapper and punter, and so he's done an excellent job getting the ball off with great mechanic time, but then also the hang time and the location of the kicks have been excellent. And really those guys on the outside have really done a nice job. Coach Sabach has really done an excellent job with our special teams. We've created some game-changing plays with our special teams units just in general, but Ryan has proven that he can be a weapon, and he's been really consistent. Really want him to continue to do the things that he's done through the first 3 games, but he's been a bright spot, and he's allowed our coverage and our players to run down and tackle, even with some great returners getting their hands on the football. And we're going to have to do that this week against a really good Marshall team. One of their top receivers transfer, number 9, Metcalf, is a returner for them. He does an excellent job. Anytime he touches the ball, he can take it to the house. And so we're going to have to do a really good job with our hang time, with our location, with our consistency, and then with our coverage to get down there and make sure that we tackle well.
One other guy, Coach, I think has been a nice addition to your team is Chris Toodle from NC State. He got his first touchdown in the last game. Experienced guy, good guy around the team. He's kind of what the transfer portal is about. You have an extra opportunity at a new location after you graduate.
Chris Toodle has done an excellent job for us. He came in, he's played a lot of football, but he prepares the right way. He's a great teammate. The guys in the locker room love him because of who he is as a person and what kind of teammate he is, how he shows up not only for practice days, but whether it's a workout or conditioning. He's been excellent that way. It was nice to see him get his first touchdown against Bethune-Cookman, and I thought he really did a nice job for us. He's really done an excellent job in that room, run game and pass game. He's a really good run blocker. He and Blake Bosma have shared the workload there in that room, and they've done a really excellent job. We've used both of those guys, and both of those guys have been weapons for us. And really, both of them, had big plays in the last game, and have to continue to find ways to get those guys involved, not just in the run game, but also in the pass game, because both of those guys are weapons in the pass game.
I know Nate kind of touched on it, but is there any of those players, those injured players, that are trending in the right direction that have the best chance of suiting up on Saturday for you?
Yeah, let's go down the list here. We've got a long injured list here. I would say the guys that are trending the right way, that have practiced this week and probably have the best opportunity to play. Gideon has practiced. He's continued to trend in the right direction. Hopefully we can get him back this week. Kenny Womack, his initial, prognosis, the target date was always Marshall. He's had some limited practice reps. On On the defensive side of the ball, Isaiah Paul, which would be excellent to get him back. He has not played since training camp. Had an injury early in training camp. He has practiced in a limited role, and really those are the guys that have practiced on a limited basis so far. Again, we hope to get them back. None of them have been cleared, but most of those guys have practiced, and we'd like to see them Saturday if we can.
I was looking at a player on Marshall. His name is Mike Green. He's almost leads the nation in sacks. Yeah. What's your initial thoughts on him and just your plan of attack and as far as blocking against him?
Yeah, Mike Green, excellent player. I mean, he pops out as soon as you put on the film. I mean, you see number 15. He's a threat. Run game and pass game. He leads the nation in sacks. He gets after the passer. He creates those havoc plays, which are really game-changing and momentum plays. Those are guys that you have to have a plan for. He does an excellent job, again, whether it's run game or pass game, but he's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to find ways to make those plays in the backfield that can hurt you and get you in long yardage situations or create turnovers and game-changing plays. We've got to have a plan for him, but they've got several guys. It's not just him up front, but so you can't just focus on Mike because of the rest of the front that they have. They've also got about 7 or 8 players that they rotate, keep guys fresh. I mean, they're very similar to us on the defensive line. They've got a bunch of guys who can play at a high level, and so they really rotate those guys. They keep them fresh. You really can't just key in on one guy or make sure that you're always sliding the protection to one guy, which I think makes that part difficult. And then they're really active even inside. With the stunts and movements, they create, problems for some of your interior offensive linemen, your centers and guards with some of the movements that they create in front. One of the things that I appreciate about what they do defensively, they're not trying to trick you. They're not trying to, disguise. I mean, they have some disguise, but they're very sound in what they do, but they're disciplined and they play hard and they run to the football and they tackle well and they do all the things that you're supposed to do and that good defenses and good teams do.
Coach, you talk about the running game. How do you go into a game plan with Coach Bell and the offensive staff with so many running backs available to you? Obviously, with Jade Nixon and Buckley and Keyshawn King and now Jamal Haley and Ole. You've got 5 guys that are really could be starters at any other place in the Mid-American Conference. How do you decide who's going to run the ball, third down situations? Ole's in there a lot of times, or is there a certain way that you guys try to get everybody the ball a certain amount of times, a certain amount of touches during the game?
I'm glad somebody else has these problems now, not me. As the running backs coach, I've had to deal with these problems having Christian McCaffrey and Bryce Love and Kyron Williams, how you're going to get each guy the touch and, do you have enough balls and carries to go around? I'll say this, Coach Darren Page, our running back coach, this is his first season with us. He's done an excellent job with that group. I think, he came in, he was new, he built great relationships within the room, but really the way that they played and the way that they ran against Bethune, I really thought, really reflects his leadership and the mentality and mindset which he sets in the room, which is, hard-nosed, creating those yards after contact. I thought that they, really ran with a purpose and ran downhill, and it's a great problem to have. Coach Huff is a former running backs coach, excellent. He's done an excellent job, had a bunch of great running backs, so I'll have to ask him pregame what his plan is and how he's dealt with some of those good problems to have in the past. But the thing that I would tell you is as you create the game plan, you do need to think players, not plays. But in the running back room specifically, you want to get in the flow of a game and really see who is seeing the game well and who has the hot hand. Sure, we're going to create some packages for different players to make sure that they get their touches, but really the game and how they play in the game, their performance in the game really dictates whether they get more carries or not. And that's the way that I've always done it. I believe in that. No matter who you have, really you want to see what guy is really dialed in on that day, and really the more he takes care of, the more you want to give him. And so really the carries wind up taking care of themselves. Just so happened in this past game we had a bunch of carries to go around. I mean, we had 2 backs over 100 yards and 3 or 4 running backs that scored, and even Brock came in and the Q run game was going, and so that was great to see. But it is a good problem to have, and you really just want to kind of help distribute and make sure that you're getting those guys involved early to make sure that they can get in the flow and the rhythm of a game to really show you really who's feeling it and who has the hot hand, so to speak, in a particular game.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Go Broncos.